Hey, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for UFC 272 Covington versus Masvidal in a grudge match of two former best friends who are now the biggest foes, and they're bringing us a pay-per-view with these guys as the main event. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how it all goes down this week. Hope everybody is well. Hopefully everybody's coming off a good weekend. It seems like a lot of people did really well with their betting and DraftKings at this past weekend. I did really well myself. Took a little bit of hit in the main event because I had a couple of bets kind of riding on Islam winning by submission or decision and over the 1.5, but Islam decided to come out and wanted to knock that guy out and did so in the very first round. Fair play to Islam. He's going to be a lot to handle up at the top of that division at 155. But I had 3.8 units of profit. Laid the hammer on Arman Tsarukyan, my guy, came through there and absolutely ran through Joel Alvarez. Armin Petrosian got on him nice and early, plus 162. Cashed a nice dog bet there. Had a nice parlay come through with, off the top of my head, I can't really remember. I had two parlays, but one of them cashed really nice for me earlier in the night. It was Bahamundes and Musasi from the Bellator card, actually. So overall, a really good week. Got myself a couple of bets for this card already. I'm liking a lot of underdogs in this card, I'll be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to talking you through some of those fights and where my predictions are. Throw a like on the video if you can, please, guys. Please leave a comment. And there's like hundreds of people watching. I need the algorithms to show that you're there. So please throw a like on the video. Please leave a comment with some of your picks, predictions, whatever it may be, whatever you want, a question. I'll be back on Saturday. I'm going to do a show before the pay-per-view starts, probably about 8, 9 o'clock UK time, so whatever time that'll be in America. And tonight, I'm over the moon to say that I'm going to be on Clint's Die-Hard MMA podcast over on Pub Sports Radio. Me and him are going to be breaking down this card. I've been meaning to do something with Clint for a long time. That is going to be tonight in about 5.5 hours. I'm going to be jumping on there with Clint and talking some fights and going back and forth a little bit because I think we're going to have a few different picks and that's always interesting to have. So, yeah, let's get into this one here, guys. I've got some strong takes and some strong underdogs this week. And I'm looking forward to really getting through this card. I actually think it's a really solid card. I think there's some well-matched fights put together and I always like cards like that. So I'm going to be going from what I see on Wikipedia at the minute. We lost a couple of fights last week, which kind of sucked a little bit. But starting off in the light heavyweight division, we've got Michał Oleksiejczuk against Dustin Jacoby. And initially I thought, right, I think there is some value in the dog on Oleksiejczuk. And I thought to myself, right, is it a bettable kind of fight here for me? Because it's one of the ones that I looked at a little bit back last week. Jacoby 16-5-1 record on a 16-4 record with 1 no contest on Oleksiejczuk's side. I mean, Michał's always been fairly undersized, I think, at 205. I think his hand speed is very good. He has very, very good combination striking, and he starts really quick. And you've seen that last time out against Gamzatov. I don't really rate Gamzatov too highly whatsoever. So running through him is... to me, it's not a big deal, but he showed that he has got some dangerous striking by taking a guy out in the first, minute and a half, I think it was. Before that, I bet Modestas Bukauskas, who I think it's not one of your top tier level guys, but he's very hard-nosed. I actually think we will see him back in the UFC one day, and got a kind of really close split decision win there. But that was coming off 2 losses, 2 brutal stoppages as well to OSP and Jimmy Crute. Jacoby, on the other hand, I mean, we all know about his striking. He's back in the day, fought in the UFC, left, came back, was in glory. And I mean, he's won 4 of his, I think, from 5 of his last 6, with his only loss being his only blemish on his record is a draw against Ion Cutelaba, which I thought that Ion did enough to win that fight personally. But then coming back, knocking out Darren Stewart, which I don't think is ever really an easy thing to do. Got him out of there and then faced John Allan, where he really just used his striking and really kept that distance, stopped some submissions, which Allan was trying to do, and really just used his all-around striking game to win that there. Before that, he had the very, very close kind of decision with Maxim Grishin, where a lot of guys kind of thought that Grishin probably should have got that decision. And I kind of probably I agree with him there. So, yeah, I think I'm going to lean Dustin Jacoby. No real strong lean. It's nothing that really jumps out at me. It's like, oh, I need to bet this fight. I think it could be one of these ones that's a little bit back and forward, very, very close in spots. Michał will have the better hand speed. I think the all-around better striking will come from Dustin Jacoby. But like I say, it's not a fight I'm really looking at betting too much, even looking at DraftKings or so on. But I think I'm going to lean with Dustin Jacoby to continue his win streak, move to 3-0 in his last 3. I think he gets it done there. Flyweight division, we've got Tim Elliott against one of Khabib's stablemates, Tagir Ulanbekov. Now, Ulanbekov's a guy that a lot of us, if you watch some of the fights outside of the UFC, if you watch some of the kind of Middle Eastern promotions coming out of Russia, which is obviously it's not the best place at the minute, but you'll know about this kid. You've probably heard about him a little bit. But I've been thoroughly... I mean, I've picked him in his 2 fights in the UFC, but I've been thoroughly... I've just not been impressed at all. I think that he's not looked nowhere as good as he did out in the regionals. I mean, on the regionals, he was fighting fairly decent guys with good records, like Denilson Mota, who he beat there via guillotine choke in the first couple of rounds. Dennis Araujo, who had like a 15-2 record. So he was facing guys with good records. He was fighting Sartan, who's like a really experienced guy. Zalgar Sumagulov, who's in the UFC. Shajhak, who is a guy I know fairly well from over here in Europe. And I mean, he was running through some of those guys and beating them via chokes. But he's come to UFC, and I've just not been impressed in the slightest. He's beat Bruno Silva. He's beat Alan Nascimento. And I think I've beaten him in the 2 spots there, and I've been sweating my tits off just watching this guy in there. And like I say, he's got some things here. Like, he's big for the division, obviously. Well, I don't want to say big. He kind of looks bigger than a flyweight. His dimensions look a bit bigger. He's only like 5'7", and him and Tim Elliott are the same height. But he's got a good reach on him. Fights out the southpaw stance. He's striking. He can throw a nice long jab out there. And he kind of, what he's doing is looking to get into where he can get his hands on you and get those body lock takedowns, which we've seen in his fights in the UFC. And once he gets there, he can be a little bit dominant down the ground. But I've also seen him being taken down in the UFC. Like Bruno Silva got him down with trips like a couple of times in that fight. Nascimento would try and initiate some of the grappling, but that was really to his downfall in that fight. He was landing the kind of harder strikes. But that fight was more or less won by Tagir getting the takedowns and trying to just be dominant with top position. It probably shouldn't have been a split decision, but it just didn't look good in my opinion. So then you're moving over to Tim Elliott. I mean, Tim's been around for the longest time, and I do think he's at the tail end of his career. Now, I'm going to come out and say I have a bet on Tim Elliott. I'm actually picking Tim Elliott to win this fight. I think the betting line was a little bit too wide. Plus 210 is what I got him in. I just put a 1-unit bet on him. I have a feeling this fight is going to be super close, and this guy can if he can, especially if he can win the first round. If he can come out and win that first round, I think there's a great chance that he can win this fight. Now, if this was the Tim Elliott that was based back in Vegas, where he was kind of running wild a little bit, I heard he was doing a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be doing as a professional fighter. The fact he's moved back to Kansas, the fact he's moved back to Glory MMA, the fact he's got James Krause back there, love that. I think he's a really good tactician as James Krause. He will put together a good game plan. But I think the movement and the overall striking of Elliott, I mean, he's not a world-class striker by any means, but he's awkward. I mean, I think his handles out there is awkward MMA. He's kind of flowy on his feet. He will throw a lot of output. He's coming off a loss to Matheus Nicolae, which I think that fight was very close until he kind of gave up the third round, which you never kind of like. And obviously, him being older, he's maybe starting to fade off. He's maybe not got the gas tank to really go that really full hard 15 minutes. Before that, he kind of used his grappling. That was a bit of a bad blood matchup between him and Jordan Espinosa. There was things said in that fight, but his wrestling won him that there. Ryan Benoit was another win. So he's like I say, he's won 2 of his last 3. Before that, he lost to Royval Askarov, who are 2 of the better guys in the division. and he did get stopped in that Royval fight there. I think he can get takedowns. I don't think he can land dominant top position, but I think he can use that off of his striking to win close rounds. I think he can have more output than Tagir Ulanbekov. I think if he can use low kicks, which we've seen in previous fights, then I think that he can get them. Right, this is like I say. I was looking at this and thinking, right, am I going to bet Tim Elliott? And I was like, I think the line's off at 210. I think at minus 250 Tagir. I've been in those spots where I bet him there, and it's just been a sweat fest. And now he's making a step up to two guys, to a guy who's very much a veteran of the sport, faced all the top guys in the division, from your Demetrius to your Davison Figueiredos to your Joseph Benavidez. Now, Tagir, I think he can get some top time, and I think if he can get to some positions, like he will throw in guillotine chokes. We've seen like Benavidez caught him in a guillotine choke. We had to tap out with his feet. We've seen him, but I've seen him take down good grapplers as well. I mean, he was the one. He got outstruck by Askar Askarov, but he was the one that got the momentarily takedowns and didn't do a hell of a lot with them, but he still got takedowns. He got a takedown against Royval. He got a takedown against Benoit. He got takedowns against Espinosa. I think he can mix it up enough to where he can win a split decision here. He could obviously win a straight out decision, but I've got a funny feeling this is going to be a split. I would rather have my money in the plus 210 guy. The money has been kind of coming in a little bit on him, so getting him at 210, I think is decent. But I think people will parlay up Tagir. I'm a parlay guy myself. I always look for parlays first, and I don't like him at minus 250. But there is other people out there that like him in this spot that I've spoken to as well. I'm just not on that spot here. I don't want to say I like, but I feel that I've got an opportunity to cash this bet plus 210 with Tim Elliott. I've got him there via a close split decision. Featherweight division, we have, in fact, lightweight division, I'm going to throw in Devonte Smith against Ludovic Klein, who's coming in very short notice after who pulled out of that fight? Eric Gonzalez, who I think that Devonte Smith was going to have a really easy time with. I think that he was a bit of a big favourite in that one, and I fully agree with that there. Devonte Smith's a curious case to me. He's obviously, you watching the guy, he's got a lot of talent and he's got a lot of things that you like. Speed, athleticism, moves pretty well. But I'm just a little bit curious about his kind of mentality a little bit, because once he starts to get hurt, he kind of closes up a little bit. I think that he kind of doubts himself a little bit. And once the kind of going gets tough, then I think that he comes out there and he kind of mentally defeats himself. You watch his last fight against Jamie Malarkey, I believe it was. Yeah, he got knocked out there. Started off that first round, he was landing some really big shots, really nice, fast hands, nice combination striking, was putting it on Jamie Malarkey. Then you kind of get to the last minute of that fight, and Malarkey gets a momentary takedown. And you see them go back to the corners, and both guys are breathing a little bit, but Devonte Smith, to me, is breathing super heavy. The pace of Jamie Malarkey was really starting to get to him, and then he just got systematically broken down by Jamie Malarkey in that second round. And I don't know whether he caught a finger to the eye or whatever it may have been, but once he started getting shots landed on him, he started to really fade off pretty badly, and got taken out. Before that, he had the kind of comeback win against Justin James. You'd fully expect that. Justin James is not UFC caliber. And then the Kama Worthy fight, I think that he thought, I'm fighting my friend here. He didn't like it. Kama Worthy was not giving two shits about that. He came out there, knocked him out. Before that, he obviously had the nice TKO win to Julian Erosa and Dong Yil Ma, which I think the Erosa win's obviously a good one to have. I think the Lowry one's not a bad fight with the finish that he had there as well. So the guy's got a lot of things you like. Ludovic Klein's a guy I've really liked for a long time. I made a predictions video or just a video on prospects outside the UFC, and this is the guy that I rated up there very, very highly. And he's not really shown outside his UFC debut what his true. I don't think he showed his true self a little bit. I think he's been a little bit unlucky in spots. Obviously, comes in there against Shane Young, blasts him with a head kick. We got dog money at that one there. I couldn't believe. I think it was plus 160 or plus 130 to plus 160 in that region. I could not believe we got that, and he came out there and he used that signature head kick. that he caught people with back in octagon in the Czech Republic. Numerous people he caught that with the high kick that you really don't see coming. And then the Trezano fight, when I watched that fight back, and I might have been a little bit biased because I had a bet on Klein to win by decision. I still watched that fight, and I think that Klein does enough there, but it's a close fight. I'm not going to call robbery on it. It was just a close fight. And then he got absolutely kind of taken apart a little bit by Nate Landwehr, which I was a little bit surprised at. Obviously, the weight, cutting the weight down to 145 is not something that he likes too much, and he fades a little bit. Now, this is at 155. He is coming in short notice here. I like the fact he's been in the Czech Republic, and I'm not the biggest fan of like having a win in the UFC, then moving to a new camp or going to America to one of these Sanford MMAs or American Top Team. We've seen that in the past, and it doesn't really work out too well. Mark Diakiese did it when he had that big win in London, went over to American Top Team. I think it ruined him as a fighter, honestly, and he struggled to kind of maintain any consistency since. Like I say, he's a smaller guy here by a couple of inches. He will be at a speed disadvantage. I think he is at a grappling disadvantage. I think that's something that Smith really should use in this matchup. But I think that Ludwig Klein's always dangerous. I think he's got that high kick. I think being at 155, his gas tank's going to be a whole lot better. But I was initially thinking maybe like Klein. I think he opened at like plus 210. And now if I got that line over in the UK here, that would be an insta-bait for me. But when I looked at the line, I think it's plus 150. I still think it's not bad because I think he has got an opportunity to, if he can land that one shot, he could really hurt Devonte Smith. But when I look at this here, I think Devonte Smith's got decent striking. I think he's got wrestling in his back pocket, which I do think he should use here because I think he could probably, being the bigger guy, can take him down, Ludwig Klein, and do that. So I'm leaning Devonte Smith here. If it was, like I say, if it was more a camp on the Klein side, I'd probably be over on that side. But I'm going to lean with Devonte Smith to win that fight. Possibly via late stoppage, but I'm going to go via a decision in that one there. Brian Boom Kelleher against Umar Nurmagomedov is the fight that's taken us into the kind of TV prelims here. Really solid fight, really good fight. It should say it's at 145, which Kelleher is good for Kelleher considering he doesn't really like that cut to 135. It is a fight that kind of been thrown together quite quick here. I don't like the matchup for him. I think that Nurmagomedov is a very, very good prospect. Obviously, when you have a surname like he has, he backs it up really well. He's the bigger guy here, bigger reach. Just the genuinely bigger guy. He's got the bigger optics here. And I just think across the board, I think he's just going to put it on Brian Kelleher here. I mean, props to Kelleher for jumping in here against this guy on a fairly short notice as well. But I think Umar's got him a little bit outgunned on the feet. I think he's definitely got him outgunned on the ground. And I think that down there, I mean, he against Moroz, he's only got one fight in the UFC as Umar, but he looks super impressive in that second round submission where he just landed these signature strikes, got numerous takedowns. Morozov managed to get back to his feet, but he just kept getting those takedowns, and eventually he just started to outwork him with those takedowns and really gas him out and got a second round submission via rear naked choke there. But in this one here, I mean, Kelleher is a game veteran with a lot of fights now. How many fights has this guy got? I mean, closing in on 40 fights. He's coming off a win over Kevin Kroon where a lot of people thought he was going to probably get him out there quicker. He kind of used takedowns in top position to win that fight. I was a little bit surprised it went to decision. I thought he could have got him out of there. Domingo Pilarte, I don't rate that win too much, used his grappling there. I just don't think he's going to have the opportunity to kind of get off in shots. I think the quicker guy is Umar. I think the better grappler is Umar. Now, he is a guy that's got a lot of guillotine chokes throughout his kind of career there. He caught that in Ray Rodriguez. He caught that in O.D. Osborne. But I just don't see him catching Umar with something like that. So I like Umar Nurmagomedov. He is like minus 700, so I'm not really throwing anything away there. But I actually think I like him via submission. It's something I am going to look at. I think that his grappling's going to be too much and being the bigger guy, I think he's going to have opportunities to submit this guy. So Umar Nurmagomedov via second round submission is going to be my pick there. So we're moving into televised prelims here, guys. If you can throw a like on this video, it'd be much appreciated. It helps out. I need to get the algorithm back, try and get some more of these viewers back knowing that I'm here. So yeah, this is a fight I'm really looking forward to. Marina Moroz against Mariya Agapova. Some bad blood here. We all know that they were former training partners. There was stuff being said on the Moroz side of Agapova in the gym, which is a little bit suspect with kind of drug use and all other types of thing there. And their former, like I say, the former sparring partners. Watched an interview today where Agapova said, yeah, for like 18 months, Marina Moroz used to beat her up badly, like used to really put it on her in sparring. She wasn't even in the same ballpark, really. So that's interesting. She obviously left ATT. She went to, and the Agapova left ATT, went to MMA Masters, and now it looks like she's jumped gym again. She's went to ATT Sunrise and is fighting under Roger Crail there, who's a really good, underrated coach, in my opinion, who's, I think, really going to help her. He's the guy that, he's the head coach of Ronnie Lawrence, I believe. So he can put the fighters together really well. I think he will do well with Agapova. Moroz, on the other hand, I've got some red flags in this fight for the simple reason that she's fought once in 3 years. She never even fought through the whole COVID experience, except for the very first event, I think, was in Brazil with no fans, and she fought against Mayra Bueno Silva. And she showed us a lot in that fight, in my opinion. She showed a lot of heart. She showed us a chin. That third round was tough. She got cut open on top of her head. But what I like about Marina Moroz and what I liked in that fight is she didn't throw singular shots. She threw in combination. She got takedowns, which I thought it's not something that we overly have seen in the past from Moroz there. But once she got there, she showed us some good ground and pound. And like I say, initially those rounds were starting off where the big power, and Silva's a scary guy. I think she's got a lot of power in that division. She was landing some big shots, but then Moroz was getting those takedowns and making it, really helping herself out with the ground and pound there and really hurting her. And she got those 2 rounds before losing the third. She's a boxer by trade. You will know with the Ukrainian boxing team that's been mentioned over numerous fights with her that she's there, and she puts together. She fights in combination striking like that. She will jab the head, then go to the body. She will mix up a little bit. She will throw leg kicks. And like I say, these are former training partners. So I'm a little bit, like I say, there's red flags to me on, just not red flags, there's just some concerns to me on the Moroz side. Obviously, her not fighting in 3 years, or 2 years, I should say. There's the whole thing with what's going on with Ukraine at the minute. It's like, it's so sad to watch what's going on over there. I know it's affecting other sports stars. If you're a soccer fan, you've probably seen some of the demonstrations we've had here in the UK, and fighters have been crying, like players not playing. They've just not in the mental capability to do that. It must be tough. When I look back at her Instagram, she looked in unbelievable shape. But this, I mean, she might come out here. She might want to fight hard for her country. It might be motivation, but it could also work the other way. So I'm a little bit kind of worried about that. But when I look at this fight, Agapova, we saw in that fight with Shayna Dobson, I mean, she came out and it was horrific. Like 2 minutes in, she was gassed badly. She was throwing everything in, every strike, got taken down, got mounted at one point, then she got a takedown, then she got swept by Shayna Dobson, and then ultimately just gassed out so bad that she had, like, you watch the end of that first round, she goes up, she's all jelly-legged, she's flopping about everywhere, but then she rebounded, and I'll give her props to this against Sabino Mazo. And if you got her as a bet in that fight, she was like plus 160. That's a great bet. I think I picked Agapova, but never bet her. She came out there. She was a lot calmer. She was somebody that she looked a completely different fighter from the Dobson fight. She had an opponent in front of her who was very hittable. Let's get that out of there. She had flat feet, was very, very hittable. But what I like about her, she's got, I think they've got a similar reach from her and Moroz, but she uses her length so well. Her extension on her shots looks so much better. It just looks longer. It looks like she always has a longer reach, and she throws in combinations as well. And she can throw hard leg kicks with hard body kicks. I think that Moroz, you've seen in the Bueno Silva fight, she caught a kick, took her down. I think she can do that here. I think she can take her down. Like I said, I watched the interview with Agapova this morning. She's saying that she's going to be calm coming into this fight. And I'm just like, but then I go and look at her Instagram and she's like hashtag kill Moroz bitch that. It's like I said, I think that if she comes in here and if she fights any way she does in that Dobson fight, she gets beat up pretty badly. I seen this being competitive. I think the line's a little bit off, honestly. I think Moroz should be, I don't want to say a favourite. It's like I say, I'm not good at really capping lines and stuff, but she's plus 175 here in the UK, and I like her enough in this fight to pick her here. I actually think she can win the fight. I think she can get a stoppage, especially if Agapova comes in here, and she is a little bit emotional, and she does have a kind of adrenaline dump. I'm looking at maybe Moroz round 3. She's not really known as a finisher, but she could potentially have it there. So you'll get a high number for that as well. So my pick's going to be Marina Moroz. I think she's got enough experience here, but there is some things that I'm not too sure about. I'm still going to wait and see whether I'm going to bet it. I think the line will close up, so I maybe have to make my mind up very, very shortly before the line starts to move, and I can try and get as good a line as possible. But Marina Moroz is going to be my pick in that fight there. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it as well. I think the bad blood's like going to escalate through the week, and we're going to have some back and forth in that one. Nicolae Nurmagomedov, I think that's how you pronounce it, against Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's up next in the light heavyweight division. I mean, Nicolae, props to him, 2 wins in the UFC against Alexa Kamer and Ike Villanueva, 2 of the lowest of the low at light heavyweight, in my opinion. But props to him. He's got his win there, and he's got them out of there as well, which is big for him. Coming out of Romania, I'm seeing a little bit of love for him. There's some people that have messaged me saying, do you like him this week? And I'm like, nah, not particularly. I still think he's very green. I know he's only got 11 fights. Both guys have 11 fights here. But I've kind of liked more what I've seen from the Kennedy and Nzechukwu side. But it's hard to be super, like with Kennedy, like a little bit cautious after him getting absolutely sparked out rotten against Down Jung last time out. He came out there and he just got blitzed straight away and got knocked out inside a couple of minutes. Some vicious elbows. Before that, he beat Danilo Marquez, no longer with the UFC. Carlos Ulberg, he took every shot under the sun by Carlos Ulberg in that fight. He gassed out, and then that kind of African power came through in the mid part of this fight. When I was watching Kennedy, like I said, both guys I still think are fairly green. I like that Kennedy is in Texas at Fortis MMA. Safe Side's a great coach. He is coming back here 4 months after that knockout, so it might be a little bit soon. I like him in this fight. I like it. I like the fact he's got a good reach advantage. He's a big guy. But would it surprise me if he comes out here and maybe catches a shot and starts to wobble a little bit? No. I think as the fight goes on, I actually think that he will move into this fight and just put a pace on. Nicolae is what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to butcher that surname. So I think Kennedy Nzechukwu, I think he's minus 150. If he was to maybe get below minus 125, I'd maybe consider it a little bit, but I doubt the money will come in that substantially where it kind of evens up like that. But the pick is going to be Kennedy Nzechukwu. I think he stops Nicolae. Round 2, round 3 props, you can maybe have a little look at there, but I like him to win that fight. Women's strawweight division, I'm surprised this is buried on the kind of prelims a little bit. Marina Rodriguez against Yan Xiaonan. Really good fight with 2 of the better strikers in this division. I think Rodriguez is finally really found her niche in that division. She's like 15-1-2 records, had a couple of draws, 13-2 in the Xiaonan side. Both girls 5'5", 5'6", with a slight edge and reach to Marina Rodriguez, who, like I say, both girls really good strikers. I very much doubt there'll be takedowns kind of really attempted in this. I can see maybe some clinch work from both girls. But Marina's really kind of found her stride recently. And I've kind of liked what I've seen from her, in all honesty. She knocked out Amanda Ribas. She has got vicious striking. She's very good in the clinch. She showed up Ribas a little bit in that fight there where the first round was close, I think. But once it hit the second round, Rodriguez landed some tough shots, knocked her out badly. Then in the second fight, and then in the next fight against Michelle Waterson, just put on like a striking clinic there. She uses all aspects of her striking game. Good punches, elbows, knees, in the clinch is nasty. Takedown defense looks to be getting better. We've seen that. She lost to Carla Esparza there. in a fight where she landed a lot of shots on the feet as well. Cynthia Calvillo, she got a draw out of that one. She beat Tisha Torres. She really boxed her up from there, from the outside, and she can do that. Then she had that main event slot against Mackenzie Dern, and Mackenzie, her strike, I think she's got big power, but she's a jiu-jitsu girl. She's going to want to try and get the fight to the ground, and she stopped numerous takedowns in that fight, apart from the one that Mackenzie got, and ultimately just beat her up, but also showed some ground skills as well. So she's obviously improving on that. But this is the matchup I don't really think that'll really be used for that. Xiaonan is not really known as getting takedowns outside of maybe the Carolina fight, where she got loads of them in that one there and really kind of beat her up on the ground. But she's coming off that loss where she got knocked out against Carla Esparza nearly a year ago. She kind of got rinse and repeat takedown there, and then got beat up with kind of ground and pound. Before that, she was the girl coming through the division. A lot of people you're getting good dog odds on it at points as well. Beat Claudia Gadelia, who did take her down a couple of times, but she popped back up to her feet fairly quick and just beat her up in the feet. Karolina Kowalkiewicz kind of mixed up well there, beat her up badly. Angela Hill beat her up badly on the feet. Shuri Kondo, she beat her up in the feet. So this to me is going to be a fight that's won on the feet. And like I say, I know there's some people out there that are on Yan Xiaonan. I actually think the betting line is off in this one. I think if there's a dog you can target in a close fight, I think you're getting plus 250 on Yan Xiaonan. I think that's honestly not a bad bet to make, but I just see Rodriguez just doing a little bit more. I think she lands quite a bit. I mean, they both land a lot. They both absorb quite a bit. Like I said, I don't see this fight going to the ground. I just see a very, very close fight where I edge Marina Rodriguez. It was one I thought, maybe Xiaonan might be a spot I like. I see a close fight. I see the advantage being Marina Rodriguez, but you people that are taking a shot on Yan Xiaonan, I wish you nothing but the best. I don't think it's a bad bet, honestly. But I just feel that Marina's going to do a little bit more in a 29-28 decision. So that is going to be my pick in that one there. Moving on to the main event of the prelims, and this is another one I've got like my eyes on. There's some fights in this card I really like. This is one of them. Jalen Turner against Jamie Mullarkey. Lightweight showdown, I should say. Really like this is solid matchmaking to me. I think that when you look at this fight, you get two guys that are kind of streaking a little bit at the minute. They're starting to find their groove in the UFC. And two guys I actually really like watching. I kind of had some choice words with Jalen Turner back in the past. I didn't think he was really fighting to his level. I thought that you could definitely see that he can make some changes to his levels in his game. I do think he's starting to do that. So maybe I said some things too early that I shouldn't have. But since then, I mean, he's came out there and he's looked phenomenal. I cannot believe I got dog odds against him, against Uros Medic last time out. I think it was a Kulabau fight. I said that there was some things that I didn't think he was really UFC caliber. I was wrong on that because he beat Callum Porter. That was his only win in the UFC today, and he ran through him there. But then he fought the hard-nosed Matt Frevola, got taken down there, and got some shots landed on him, but ultimately kind of got grinded out in that fight, 30-27. Came back against Josh Kulabau, who's coming in short notice there, dealt with him accordingly. That was one of my worst picks, was that. Then he faced Brock Weaver. Brock Weaver, he did what he had to in that fight. He landed his strikes, his long, lengthy frame, got a takedown, got a sub. Very, very dangerous, obviously, with the long limbs. And then Uros Medic, like I say, I could not believe I was getting dog odds on Jalen Turner there. I got it plus 110, plus 115, I think, in that spot. And he ran through Uros Medic in that fight. And then ultimately got the first round rear naked choke there. And he looks like he's making that ascension up the ranks. Now, you look at Jamie Mullarkey. I love this guy. A tough bastard is what I like to call this guy. I like just a hard-nosed, tough bastard. Came in against Brad Riddell. Really fun fight to watch. I love watching that fight. Took a lot of big shots from Brad Riddell. Never kept him from coming back. Looked to get takedowns. He got a few in that fight and fought him really, really kind of close and got a fight in the night performance. Faris Ziam, I think I picked and bet Faris in that fight at dog odds. I thought Jimmy Mullarkey won that fight. I thought his clinch work. I thought his takedowns won it there. Cameron Worthy, you can't really take too much away from that fight. The fact that he caught him square with a left hook, I think straight on the chin, right on the point of the chin, and knocked him out. Cameron Worthy never had the greatest chin, but you can see the power that he's got. I kind of mentioned the Devonte Smith fight earlier on, where the initial part of that first round was taking some shots. I don't want to say he was getting beaten up. He was landing a few shots here and there. But once he kind of got his hands on Devonte Smith, from the end of that first round into the second round, he whooped his ass badly. And it was a beautiful, beautiful knockout. I think it was a body shot that crumpled Devonte Smith, and then that was the end of that there. How I see this matchup going, I kind of looked at the Frevola fight and thinking, right, Frevola is an in-your-face, hard-nosed fighter, will look to kind of take you down. I think Mullarkey will look to push, because that's what he's a guy that pushes forward and looks to kind of back you up and put you against the cage and get takedowns. And I think we've seen that in the Zion fight, a guy with a pretty big frame himself, but not the greatest takedown defense, got blitzed and beat up at the weekend there. Turner is going to be nasty with his striking. I do think that Mullarkey has to be very cautious coming into range with this guy, because he's long limbs, he could walk onto a shot, but I don't see him knocking out Jamie Mullarkey, because Jamie takes a shot very well and is, like I say, super hard-nosed, very, very durable, and comes forward. I just see Jamie Mullarkey's pace eventually winning this fight, and I bet him this afternoon at plus 125. A couple of units on him there. I like that spot. I like the number. I think that line will close up a little bit. There is some love out there for Jalen Turner, and I can see why, because you can see progressions in his game, and this might be the coming out party where he shows it against a really tough guy in Jamie Mullarkey. I just like the Mullarkey side. I think that his pace and his persistence is going to win him this fight. I think he can get takedowns. I think he has to watch obviously where he puts his head, because Jalen has got big limbs and he's shown that he can submit guys as well. He's been doing this a little bit work with Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's did some with Josh Kulabau, who's a former opponent there. So I like Jamie Mullarkey. He's going to be my pick. I've got him at plus 125. I think he wins. I think he could win a stoppage. Maybe like a third round stoppage could happen, but actually like it. Could I see him lose a round here? Actually, I probably could. I probably got Jamie Mullarkey via decision, via 29-28. I think he gets this one done. And yeah, that is the end of the televised prelims, guys. I'm really enjoying talking about this card. Can you tell? It's a really fun card, a lot of fun fights. So moving on to the main card now. Where are we? Sergey Spivak against Greg Hardy. I like Spivak in this spot, but there is, from what I've seen, some love out there for Greg Hardy initially. I think this is the fight that got through together. They're supposed to fight beforehand. Yeah, and Hardy suffered an injury. It was supposed to be a couple of pay-per-views ago at the start of the year, but Hardy suffered a finger injury. I think this is fairly self-explanatory here. I think that Spivak, if I'm him, I need to try and get my hands on Greg Hardy and try and tire him out. Hardy's going to look to come forward, and he can hurt anybody, I think, in that division. He's got big power, big athleticism, but he can also be put down. You saw Tai Tuivasa, he hurt Tai, went into a kind of striking exchange, and Tai hit him square in the chin and knocked him out. And you've seen that Tai can do that with kind of the best guys in the division, or some of the top 5 guys in that division. Spivak, to me, is a guy that I think if he comes out here and purposely looks for takedowns, I think that he's got a good chance of ultimately maybe not getting them straight away, but I think that he can get them. We've seen that in the Vanderaf fight. We've seen it in the Carlos Felipe fight. And we've seen that he can stand on the feet. You've seen that he went kind of toe-to-toe with Oleksiej Olenek. Not that that's saying much, because Oleksiej Olenek is super, super hittable. But use the game plan that he had against Tai Tuivasa. Wrap him up. Be that polar bear like your nickname is. Take him to the ground and tire this guy out. And I think that Greg Hardy will, I don't want to say, yeah, I think he might quit himself, but I think his gas tank might deteriorate that much that he's just a kind of sitting duck there, and the overall kind of ground and pound of Spivak can hurt him. So, like I say, I think that Hardy is going to be very dangerous in the first round. I think if he was to fight long and maybe, use that jab, try not kind of rush in too much with the big shots and just kind of bide your time, he could potentially hurt Spivak. We've seen that he's been knocked out. Walt Harris knocked him out in the first round. Tom Aspinall knocked him out in the first round. But I think they're guys at a higher level than what Greg Hardy is, especially on the Aspinall side, who's got a big main event in a couple of weeks' time. So I've got Spivak. He's minus 200. He's a guy that I'm maybe looking to parlay up a little bit. But I need to wait and see. I don't really see this much as a parlay card compared to what it was last week. I think you could parlay some of the chalk up there and win some big money. But Spivak via round 2 or round 3 stoppage is what I'm kind of looking at. I'm going to look at those numbers, see if I can get a decent number there. But for me, Spivak has to be the pick. Kevin Holland against Alex Oliveira, the cowboy there. Again, a fight. I was looking at this number, like the bet number. I kind of feel it's a little bit like, should Kevin Holland really be that big of a favourite? Considering he's moving down to 170 here, I'm a little bit curious to see how that goes because he's a big dude, like 6'3", 6'4", moving down there. But like I say, if he can make that easily and healthily, he's going to have a lot of like advantages with people with the dimensions of his striking, with the length of his striking. But like I say, has he been working on his takedown defense? I think that's Alex Oliveira. I mean, he's a very strong dude. Is Cowboy? He's a guy that was a former bull rider, so super strong. We've seen him muscle takedowns in the past against. I remember the Nicholas Dalby one. There was one against Nico Price, but previously we've seen that against Carlos Condit back in the day. That's what we need to see. I think that's what he has to do. Not saying that he's going to have much success in the ground because I think Kevin Holland is very, very good down there, but we've seen that if you can plant him on his back, Kevin Holland, he can be down there for numerous parts of the fight and not get back to his feet. Vettori took him down numerous times. Brunson took him down numerous times. Kyle Dawkins took him down numerous times. Darren Stewart. I could go on and on and on with guys that I've seen in the regionals. Brendan Allen took him down. Di Chirico. This guy can get taken down at will. But I don't know. It's hard to really trust Alex Oliveira because I think he is. I don't want to say he's fade. Well, maybe he is fading. He's lost 3 in a row and he's got stopped in 2 out of 3 of those fights, albeit against Shavkat Rakhmonov, who I think is a guy in that division you have to keep a very close eye on. Randy Brown, we've seen with our own eyes, he's really escalated himself into a really good fight at welterweight. And Nico Price is just a tough guy to really fight because he's so blood and guts and in your face. And that was a very close fight that he lost there. I think I'm going to edge Kevin Holland. I just wish we could get the Alex Oliveira, like even half of the Alex Oliveira we had beforehand and knew what he was doing. It was like American top team or whatever. But we don't know what he's out doing there in Brazil, how many babies he's out there making, which I don't know. I think if Alex Oliveira could get some top time early on here, I think he's got a shot. But I'm going to lean on the Kevin Holland side. I hate the price, so I don't like the price one little bit. But Kevin Holland could hurt him in the feet. I do think he's been working on his grappling. He's went to AK. He's went to different gyms to try and better that. I think he's got Johnny Hendricks in and around his camp, who is a former wrestler. I'll lean on the side. I don't really want any action on the fight, but Kevin Holland will be my pick there. Edson Barboza against Bryce Mitchell is up next. I've not been on the Bryce Mitchell train at all, and he's made me look like an absolute fool. I think he's 4 fights in the UFC. I've picked against him all 4 times, and of course, all 4 times he's won his fight, and he's done so very, very easily in those fights as well. He's not really looked out of place. He's making the right strides, I think, in that division. But now this is a guy. This is a big step up, in my opinion, against Edson Barboza. But I think it's one that he deserves, honestly. I think what we've seen from Bryce Mitchell, controlling dudes. I mean, his ground game is stifling. And we've seen recently with these guys with kind of wrestling and pressure and just top-heavy games that they're winning a lot of fights at the minute. Nick Maximov, there's others that I could try and think of and wrap my brain to get, but I mean, that's a stifling game, and he's shown that. 7 takedowns against Fili, who's a really tough guy to face. Never really looked out of, didn't look like to me like he got out of second gear there. His striking's actually pretty decent. I think it's coming along slowly but surely. Charles Rosa, I mean, he had numerous spots there where I thought he was going to submit him. Rosa showed good submission defense, but once he got the takedown, like, Rosa was not getting him off. But you look at the Moffat fight there, where he really won that fight through his striking and just like reversing position and because he got taken down numerous times there, and Tyler Diamond also got him down in his the tough finale that he won that one there. So, like I say, this is from going from Fili, like Rosa Fili, then into a guy like Barboza, who's, I mean, his strength of schedule, the guys that he's faced is unreal, and the skills that he brings to the table, again, is very, very like high level. He only loses to really good fighters. He never really loses to bad guys. Giga beat him last time, knocked him out in the third round. Dan Ige, I still think that Barboza won that fight. Every time I watch it, I think that Barboza beats that Ige there. Paul Felder thought he should have won that fight as well. So he's got some split decision losses there, which don't look good there, but it's against good guys. Justin Gaethje knocked him out there. Got knocked out there, I should say. Dan Hooker, he brutalized Dan Hooker in that fight. But this fight is going to be, because, I mean, it starts in the feet. Bryce Mitchell's not stupid. Like, he's really not. He's going to come out here and look to grapple hard. I think he can get takedowns. I mean, you look at, just go back through the record of who Barboza's faced. Amir Khani got him down 3 times. Dan Ige got him down. Kevin Lee got him down numerous times. Obviously, Habib, but he gets everyone down. He's had takedowns in the past as well, but I doubt that's something he's going to really look to try and do here, is take Bryce Mitchell down. He's going to want to keep this in the feet and use the weapons that he's got, which is dangerous striking, unbelievable kicking game. But I think he has to be careful with that kicking game, because maybe someone like Bryce Mitchell will look to kind of capitalize, grab a leg, and look to take that fight to the ground. And I think that Bryce can get some top position here, but if Barboza can get off those shots and initially stop some of these early takedowns, I think he can brutalize this kid in the feet. I really do. I feel like I should be picking Bryce Mitchell here, but I don't know what it is. I'm a lover of Barboza. I don't want to say I'm a hater of Bryce Mitchell. I don't know what it is, because I've picked against him pretty much every fight, and the guy's shown me up in every fight, but I keep going back to the well and going with his competitors on the other side. I just think this is a big step up. Big spot on a pay-per-view. I mean, he might come alive, and this might be the spot when finally I realise, like, oh, this guy's legit. Like, seriously legit. His game's very, very good, and he can stifle fights. I'm going to pick Edson Barboza, so I'm going to go against Bryce Mitchell again. I know there's some people out there that are super heavy, some really good guys with big bankrolls that are ready to unload on Bryce Mitchell as well. So, like I say, I don't know whether I'm going to bet Barboza. He's plus 130. It's something that I do quite like. It's Barboza at dog money. But it could be a fight there where he gets completely 30-27 or gets submitted in this one here. But I think Barboza's going to hurt him on the feet. Stop some takedowns. Like I say, I think there will be points where he will be put down. But I'm a little bit kind of worried if it goes into 2 and 3 and the takedowns have kind of been prevalent in the first round. He could gas out a little bit and Bryce could have his way with him. I'm going to pick Barboza. Not super confident. I do like the dog money on him, but I'm going to take Edson Barboza. If I'm going to pick him, I think I pick him via a stoppage in this one here. But I'll be playing a lot of Bryce Mitchell on DraftKings as well, because he's got that kind of game that can accumulate points. Co-main event of the night, a 5-round co-main event here. We've got the former UFC lightweight champion in Rafael Dos Anjos as he faces the surgeon Rafael Fiziev from out there at Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand, who's really progressed through the UFC at a rate of knots, and he's been nothing short of fantastic recently in his last 4 or 5 fights since that Mustafayev knockout way back in 2019. So what do we get from Fiziev? Elite striking game, very, very well put together striking game. He's the head guy at Tiger Muay Thai. I know some guys that have been out there from Scotland that they hold this guy in such high regard out there for his striking, and he's shown it in the UFC, and he showed it last time out with that spinning back kick that caught Brad Riddell. Brad Riddell, they're 2 guys that know each other very, very well. I think they've sparred together or worked together. And ultimately, Fiziev caught him with that big shot in the 3rd round, and really, he was winning that fight with his striking. It was close-ish, but Fiziev was always ahead, in my opinion. Bobby Green, I mean, Bobby's the king, a really, really tough guy. This is where it's kind of interesting, this fight, because if you watch round 3 there, he gasses a little bit. Bobby puts it on him, and Bobby's known for, obviously, for that striking acumen, not big power, but he can put it all together and he can land shots in you, hands low, can catch you at weird angles. But ultimately, he had 2 rounds in the bank by then. He'd landed a lot of shots, but in the 3rd round, Bobby put it on him big time. Moicano knocked him out beautifully in the 1st round. But when I'm talking about that Bobby Green fight, you look at Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos is not a guy that fights with a high pace, a high output in his fights. With that, he's a guy that looks to mix up, can throw a lot of strikes, obviously. Did that against Paul Felder across the 5 rounds there, got some takedowns. That was how that fight's a split decision to me is beyond a joke. But he did what he had to do there, and his fight back down at 155. Before that, he had his run up at 170, where the strength of schedule. I was talking about the strength of schedule with Barboza. This guy, Chiesa is a tough guy. Edwards is a tough guy. Kevin Lee's tough. Usman, Covington, Lawler. Safadine back in the day was recognised as a really good fighter. Tony Ferguson, Alvarez, Cerrone, Pettis, Nate Diaz, Ben Henderson. The list can go on. The guys this guy is faced. Habib, Cerrone again. Nzechukwu was a good striker back in the day. So this guy's been around for the longest time. And I do think the 5 rounds favour him. I really do. I think that he can put it all together better over a 25-minute space than what Fiziev can. But I just think that initially, if I'm Dos Anjos, I'm looking to get this fight to the ground. But that means you're going to have to get in close on a guy like Fiziev who can hurt you with devastating kicks to the legs, to the body, and with devastating combinations. Not saying that Dos Anjos can't take some of those shots and get into a clinch position and get takedowns, because he does get takedowns. He did against Kevin Lee. He did against Colby Covington, got some momentary takedowns. Robbie Lawley got some. So he can take this fight down there. I think he can. I actually think in some spot, I think he can win rounds here. I think this fight's a lot closer than what the kind of odds suggest. I think it's like -250 on the Fiziev side. I think that those lines should kind of close up a little bit. But I'm just finding myself hard to really pick in Dos Anjos here. I really like him to win, honestly. I'm a big fan of Dos Anjos. And they're kind of, I don't know if they're trying to maybe build Fiziev. I think it's the guy, obviously, they want to kind of maybe get the win here, because another guy, a fresh guy at 155. So I'm going to pick Rafael Fiziev. I think that he makes, he builds too big of a lead in this fight to where I don't think Dos Anjos can get it back. So I'm probably going to take it like a 48-47 decision for Rafael Fiziev. I think just a more crisper striking. And if he doesn't get put down, I think that on the feet, he's just the more crisper striker. I think he'll land the more devastating shots and just optically look better. So I'm taking Fiziev. I've got him to be a very kind of close decision in that one there. And the main event of the night, in the welterweight division, bad blood between these two. Grudge match. Colby Covington, Gamebred, Jorge Masvidal, former training partners, former best friends. I've got a picture out there of both these guys, and when I met them, they were like brothers. Honestly, they were so close, like playing jokes on one another, just having a good time. Super close dudes. And then obviously, I don't know what's really happened with Jorge. I'm sure there's probably a lot of stuff that's happened in the gym that's happened. Like obviously, Colby's ascension up into being one of the top guys at 170. Masvidal, who kind of came back after that layoff and looked amazing and went kind of viral with the things that he was doing. But this is predominantly is a striker v grappler fight. Not saying that Colby can't have long spots where he can contend with Jorge with George Masvidal with the striking, but I don't think that's the game he wants to play, because I've got this feeling that if Masvidal lands something clean, he like something super clean, I think he will knock Covington out. But when you look at that division, obviously Kamaru is the best guy in the sport. Covington's run him very close in 2 fights, so he is just a little bit behind what Usman is. He can set a high pace with his striking, can land it well. We've seen that in both the Usman fights. Will look for takedowns. He just couldn't take down Usman, who's just as good a wrestler, I think, as Colby Covington, and a bigger dude. And Usman was the one in those fights that got the knockdowns, had the more power, had the better wrestling. With the one takedown that he got, it was stopped the grappling, the attempts that Colby had. But he's not a guy, Colby, with great top pressure. He can get numerous takedowns. You look at the Lawler fight, he had like 10 takedowns, couldn't establish there. The Dos Anjos fight, got numerous takedowns there, didn't really keep him down for long spells. So I see this fight predominantly being on the feet for long spots. Yeah, Masvidal's he's a former street fighter who's paid his dues in the sport. I love the fact that he had his time with knocking out Dan until that knockout that went against Ben Askren went viral, beat up Nate Diaz very, very badly, viciously. A vicious knockout in that fight that he beat Nate Diaz's ass. And then he came in, props to him, short notice against Kamaru, gave a good account of himself against the best guy in the world, got taken down numerous times, never really settled there, looked to get back to his feet and did so. And then he got starched by Kamaru the second time out, and that happens. You stay around this sport long enough, you're going to get knocked out, and that's something that never really happened before. I don't see Colby having the power to put him down. I see him having the power. I see him having the output to be very competitive with Masvidal. Again, I think this betting line's off as well. I think that the value is on. I'm seeing a lot of people saying the money should come in Usman because everyone's going to batter the line on Covington. I think if this gets to minus, I think it's minus 350. I can see people piling at Covington maybe minus 200. I think the line should be minus 175, maybe minus 200 Covington. That's where I would set the line. So if you're getting George Masvidal at plus 300, I don't think that's a bad bet. I think it will go there, but I think the smart money, the money, if you are going to bet the Colby side, I think you should wait, because I think once this fight week goes on, I think more people are going to start to pile on Masvidal. There's going to be all the chirping back and forward between them. So I think money will come in Masvidal, where you could get maybe that decent number on Colby. I don't know whether it gets down to a minus 200. You might get a minus 250. So I can see people parlaying up Colby, taking him outright. I think this fight's going to be close. I think that Colby is going to do enough mixing it in. If he doesn't get hit with something clean, I see him doing more than enough in the feet and then mixing in those takedowns. Because, like I say, I think he will get Masvidal down. I just don't think he'll keep him there for long spots of that fight. So, I wanted to pick Masvidal. I put a poll out on Twitter on Saturday saying that I quite like Masvidal, but when I was watching Covington fight, I mean, the guy puts it together really, really well, and he's only been ousted by the best guy in the division, where I think that Masvidal, he's around the kind of top 5 of that division. Being honest, I think he's just round about maybe that top 5. I think everyone here probably wants Masvidal to knock him out. I'm seeing a lot of people watch James Lynch pro picks, and everyone's all the fighters I really want him to win, but they were picking the Covington side. So I'm kind of on the same boat there. Also, if you're looking at bets, if you think Masvidal's going to win, there's bets here in the UK. Masvidal 1, 2, and 3 to win there. I think it's plus 400 to win in 4 or 5 or by decision. It's plus 700. So if you're looking at some of those spots where you think Masvidal could get that, you could maybe get some great value in there. I think Colby just does enough, though. I do. I think he will lose rounds. I think Masvidal will land some shots. Like I say, I think if Masvidal lands something clean, I think that he can take out Colby. I think if he does that, then he will take him out. But my money's going to be my pick's going to be on Covington. I like him to just do enough with the mixing up of the whole entire game, and he'll go on to win maybe a 49-46, 49-48. I see him just doing enough there. So, that's my picks, guys. I'm nearly an hour in. I've really, really enjoyed listening, listening to interviews, watching interviews, fights for this card. So, having a little look here at some of the chat there. Bob Broccoli, good morning. Moy's Audio, my man, hope you're well. Thomas, hope you're well, brother. Good value in the dog here, I think. So, yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole entire chat. Jack Attack, my man, hope you're well. I know you liked Tagir Ulanbekov. I've seen that tweet on Twitter. You think there's a lot of value in Tagir, but yeah, I like him there. I'm just going to go through a few more here. Bet Tagir in his last 2 and lost about 2 pounds of sweat. Yeah. Bruno, that's also true. Bruno Silva's also trying to be better than we gave him credit for. That's absolutely true. What else have we got here? What do you think about the co-main, Hot Crisp? I hope you were around for that. Sounds good. Elliott will be ready. Jason C is always here. I hope you're well. Hit that like button, guys, if you're still around. Klein looked terrible last time out. I agree. Moroz, call me touch. I don't think Agapova has a lot of wrestling skills. We'll see. Jack Attack is also on that by the looks of things. Let's see if there's anybody else in there that should be saying hello. Turner as a sniper there, Maciso's saying. Moroz was weight drained at 115. That is also true. So, yeah. Got a big fat bet with Fiziev. Umar. It's my last parlay legs. Well, I wish you all the very, very best there, brother. Hoping my Russians pull through. Hopefully they all go against you, man. But, yeah. Guys, I'm here for over an hour. Like I said, I'm going to be back on Saturday. Before the pay-per-view, I'm going to be talking about my final bets, some of the spots that I like, if anything's changed throughout the week that I've seen. And again, I'm going to be on the Die Hard MMA podcast tonight, 11:30 UK time, 6:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Mountain time, 3:30 West Coast time. I think I've got them all right there. And probably 12:30 in the European time zones or whatever it may be. So come and join Clint there. Show support for Clint. Because he puts out a lot of work and a really good podcast every week with great guests as well. I'm really honoured to be going on there. So, guys, until next week, what's the card next week, actually? I forgot about that one. Who have we got? Santos against Ankalaev is the next one up there. So, a light heavyweight showdown with kind of title implications maybe for Ankalaev in that spot. But some good fights on there as well. Marais Yadong, Sadiq Youssef's there. Alex Pereira against Bruno Silva. Banger alert. Trevin Jones against Javed Basharat. Basharat is something to keep an eye on. So, guys, until next week, if you're still here, throw a thumbs up, subscribe. Please comment down below if you're still round about. And until next week, guys, all the very, very best. Take care and look after each other. Peace.